As the ASEAN summit gets underway in Kuala Lumpur this week, a major issue will be Timor-Leste's bid to become the 11th ASEAN member state this year. It is slated to be granted full membership of the group in October, but last week Myanmar, which is suspended from the bloc, formally objected. Timor-Leste occupies the eastern part of the island of Timor at the far eastern tip of the Indonesian archipelago. It is the smallest nation in Southeast Asia and one of the youngest, having only gained independence in 2002. But that has not stopped them from being the most vocal regional critic of the Myanmar junta. Well, for more on this, I'm joined by President of Timor-Leste, Jose Ramos Horta. Mr. President, thank you so much for speaking to me today about this. Now, you are hoping that Timor-Leste will become the 11th member of ASEAN later this year. Why is this important to you and for Timor-Leste?
It's very important in regional integration. We, in fact, for the past 23 years since independence, we have gradually integrated into the region, namely in trade, in investments. Most of our trade is with Indonesia, with Australia, increasingly with Malaysia, Singapore, and of course with China. Our people, by the tens of thousands, travel to Indonesia, by the thousands study in the region, in Indonesia, in Australia, in the Philippines, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, and of course China and Vietnam. So joining ASEAN is only a formality of regional integration. So it is dictated by our region, dictated by our national interest to be part of ASEAN. And we are very pleased that at the summit in Kuala Lumpur, leaders unanimously welcome Timor-Leste to join formally in October 2025 in Kuala Lumpur this year.
And Mr. President, I mentioned Myanmar, which are suspended from ASEAN. They have objected. Are there any concerns that you might have that this might scupper your chances of joining as a full member?
Well, first is a bit unusual that at the summit itself in Kuala Lumpur, there were no objections on the part of Myanmar. Myanmar was represented there by an ambassador, because obviously for the past 3 years, since the coup, ASEAN leaders have objected, have decided not to invite any Myanmar leader, namely the head of the military regime. It does not also invite, obviously, Suu Kyi, who is in prison, but they invite a non-political person, so a foreign ministry senior official. In that summit in KL, when the decision was made by all present, there were no objections on the part of Myanmar. Maybe it was all a gesture on their part, which we would understand to signal their displeasure at the fact that we, Timor-Leste, continue to support the democracy process, the democracy movement in Myanmar. We couldn't do otherwise. It would be utterly betrayal, hypocritical on our part, if for the sake of joining ASEAN, we would begin on day zero, even before we joining, forget about the suffering of the people there, the elections that took place several times actually in Myanmar, and each time the military reject the result, stage a coup. But ASEAN has progressed also, so the notion that you can have a coup and kill thousands of people, and that is an internal problem, well, it's no longer accepted in ASEAN itself.
Mr. President, I understand your country is still yet to meet ASEAN benchmarks on economic reform, including compliance with trade agreements. Are you confident that you'll be able to get all those in place?
Timor-Leste is, we're doing very well. We are completely at peace. We don't have any political violence, no ethnic or religious based tensions. Our economy is moving ahead in the next few months, few years. I'm sure in terms of GDP, we will catch up with at least half of the ASEAN countries. Right now, for instance, our GDP is about the same as Myanmar. And Myanmar is far bigger, far richer. They've been member of ASEAN for 60 years. And we just joined in now, and we are independent only 20 plus years. And yet our GDP is similar to Myanmar. Our life expectancy is also similar, better than Myanmar. So in 5 years, let's say, we will be in the middle in terms of the GDP of the ASEAN countries.
Mr. President, thank you very much. We'll have to leave it there for now. President of Timor-Leste, Jose Ramos Horta.
Thank you.